Hey, Fear Minimalist, it's Sophia Lark of thefearminimalist.com, and I help women of color break the fear-based emotional cycle that keeps them stuck in mother wound trauma. So if you feel like your emotions are running your life, emotions that are primarily linked to the mother wound, and you have no idea how to properly manage them or get them under control, I'm going to share with you in this video how you can begin healing dysregulated emotions linked to the mother wound, so be sure you keep watching. If this is your first time joining me today, thank you so much for being here. I greatly appreciate it. I'm always honored to have new people visit my channel. And if this content ends up resonating with you, I want to encourage you to subscribe. Hit the subscribe button, turn on your notifications so you'll receive all of the latest updates when I upload new content every single week. So dysregulated emotions describe a person's poor ability to manage their emotional reactions to outside stimuli and to keep those emotional reactions within a typical range of expression. So let me give you an example of what I mean by this typical range. It's really what is expected when you are experiencing some kind of trigger or from the outside world, or maybe even an internal trigger. And it is what people typically expect. How do people typically expect you to respond to a disappointment, to being scared, or what have you? So let's say that your boss has announced that there is an opportunity for a promotion. And so everybody applies, and it comes down to you and one other person who they're considering. So either you're going to get the promotion or the other person is going to get the promotion. And so you wait a couple of days, and the boss calls you into their office, and they talk about how it was this really close race, and you were neck and neck with this other person. It was qualification for qualification, and they had this hard time figuring out who was going to get the promotion. But ultimately, they decided they were going to give the promotion to the other person. And so a typical emotional response, what would be expected and what would be deemed as an emotional regulatory experience, is that you may go, oh man, you're disappointed. You go, is there anything I could have done? And they're like, no, I'm telling you, it was just really about the timing of it. And we just thought maybe you kind of need a little bit more time to develop the skill that you're onto. But the other person is just a little bit more advanced there, and we thought that they would fit better at this time. So, you guys talk about it maybe a little bit, and then you part amicably, and you go back to your desk, and maybe you're disappointed. You go, man, I thought I was going to get, I really was looking forward to that. But then you mull over it, and you just kind of let it go, or you just move on. And a week later, it's just like, it's pretty much not on your mind anymore. An emotionally dysregulated response would be that the boss would give you that same news, but instead of going, oh man, is there anything I could have, you storm out of their office, slam their door, go to your desk, you hop on the phone, and you call somebody, and you start talking badly about the boss and how much they don't appreciate you at the job and how you think you're going to quit and whatever. That's not typically what would be expected for somebody saying that you didn't get the promotion. The report of the news, getting the news that you didn't get the job, and your response to it is so out of proportion. The response is so out of proportion to the news that you had. It's almost startling. People don't expect for somebody to respond in that extreme. And guys, I don't want to get. I typically don't get into pop culture, and I know a couple of days ago, at the Oscars, this whole fiasco happened between Will Smith and Chris Rock, and Chris Rock made a joke that I don't know if he knew about Jada's condition, but the thing is that it wasn't appropriate. I didn't care for the joke. I don't think Chris Rock is very funny, but I never disliked him as a comedian, but I've never thought that he was the most talented. But whatever he said, I think he could have kept that to himself. But did it warrant Will Smith going up there to slap him? I don't advocate violence. And I would probably say that another reason that I didn't talk about that, I didn't get on social media or post something on Instagram about, what do you guys think about Will Smith doing all this, is that I was personally triggered by it because my mom used to slap me. And and the way that he did it, it wasn't that he was coming up there and said, I'm gonna slap you or whatever, warning him, I'm coming to get you. It was just he walked up there and Chris Rock didn't know. He was like, oh, okay, maybe he's coming to take the mic from me and set the record straight. But instead, he smacked him and turned around and walked off. And I remember just going, oh, I flashed back because my mom, she was surprised. Like, she would just walk up to you and slap you. Like, if she deemed you, behavior that you did, if it was something that she disapproved of, sometimes she wouldn't say anything. She would just let it go, and you thought, oh, maybe I got away with that. And then all of a sudden, she would walk up to you, and you'd be like, what's going on? And she'd slap you in the face. So I was triggered by that. I was like, I don't want to even get into this conversation. I guess I said that to say that was not, and even people said of Will Smith, that's not what, nobody expected Will Smith to do what he did. That was out of character for him. And emotion dysregulation, especially in a public setting, like at a job, that catches people off guard. It scares people because people don't know what to do with it. They're like, oh my goodness, like what is going on? Children do not grow up with emotional regulation skills. Emotion dysregulation is rooted in, there are a number of causes. There's no one cause for emotional dysregulation, so I'll just say that. But what the literature consistently shows, there's this common theme that runs throughout the literature as it relates to emotional dysregulation. One of the causes of it is childhood maltreatment. It happens early in childhood between a caregiver and the child. If a parent, particularly the mother, if the mother has not learned to regulate her own emotions, she's not going to be an appropriate model. She's not going to be an appropriate mirror to the child of how to regulate the emotions. And so the child is going to be at high risk of becoming emotionally dysregulated themselves. And so that's how a child either learns to regulate their emotions, or they suffer from dysregulated emotions. Because in a traumatic environment where there's repeated relational abuse, repeated relational neglect, a child's emotions are often stopped, they're denied. The child is told that they need to be quiet. That's not acceptable. They are denied, oh, you don't really feel that way. Stop it right now. And so they don't get the opportunity to work through that. And so they become emotionally stunted. Now that you know a little bit about how emotional dysregulation is created, how do you move forward with healing those dysregulated emotions? How do you become a master of regulating your emotions? And being a master doesn't mean that you're not going to have ups and downs. It just means that I've got a grip. I've got the tools. I've got the insights. I've got what I need to be able to say, I'm having a moment. So this is what I need to do. The first step that I would say is that you have to challenge those old defenses, those old protections, those old paradigms by finding the language to describe and express what you're feeling. And so how do you start finding this language to challenge those old defenses? One of the ways that I have people start, when I'm working with people through my coaching practice, is I tell them, I said, let's take a little adventure. This isn't going to be some boring, let's write down a couple of things of how I can possibly improve, my emotions. If that had worked, then people would already be doing it, right? But I said, let's go on a little adventure. Let's start listening. Let's start taking in. Let's sit by our fellow humans and see what they have to say about this. And so I'll say, go watch some YouTube videos on this particular person and how they talk about therapy, or how they talk about, healing mental health concerns. Or it doesn't even have to be that. It could be, go listen to TED Talks or listen to a funny video. One of my favorite ones is watching sports shows. Now, the reason I do that is because I'm a sports fan. And so I grew up from a very little kid watching sports, all kinds of sports: football, baseball, basketball, of course, is my favorite, tennis, soccer, figure skating, bobsledding, you name it. I use those channels to listen to how people describe their experiences. And particularly players who have grown up in rough neighborhoods, who had particularly difficult backgrounds. I like to listen to what they say about their lives. And oftentimes I hear them describe things about themselves and how they've overcome obstacles to achieve their success that resonates with me. So I use that. I use poetry books. Emily Dickinson, Tracy K. Smith, which is one of my favorite poets. And so I've learned a lot from her poetry, and I found a lot of language that resonates with me, because Tracy K. Smith is also an African-American woman who has no doubt had to endure a lot of the things that Black women have had to deal with in the United States of America. And so, of course, that resonates a little bit more. Her message resonates a little bit more with me, although I love Emily Dickinson's language, just the way that she puts things together and how she says things in her perspective, how she paints this very vivid picture of life and of happiness and of struggle, of confusion and concern. Just a very, very unique way of describing the human experience. So I use poetry. You can use a number of mediums to start finding the language to describe your emotions. That's how you begin to find the language. Go on a little journey. Go to coffee shops. Go, listen to people. Walk out in the park. Listen to conversations there. Take inspirations from birds. When they tweet, what are they saying? Just kind of imagine things, right? So you can do that. There's a number of ways that you can start finding the language that makes it a little bit fun and adventurous, but you're also gaining a very valuable skill, something that's going to help you to start describing your emotions in a way that you've never described them before. Another way to heal emotion dysregulation is to learn how to tolerate, not avoid, your emotions. Emotion dysregulation, as I indicated before, when people think about emotion dysregulations, they often think about the impulsivity, this quick, hot-tempered, sort of swift movement from 0 to 100 real quick, between being at a resting state all the way up to rage. That's typically what people think about. But emotion dysregulation can also include emotional blocks. And emotional blocks are these barriers that our brain create to protect us from overwhelming feelings. When we don't want to feel something because it's too painful, it creates this fear or these very uncomfortable feelings. Then our brain will create these barriers to help us not do that. But that doesn't work long term, because we're expending all of this energy, making all this effort to avoid what we don't want to feel. But it's not going to go away, because as Freud said, and however you feel about Freud, I think he hit the nail on the head when he said, unexpressed emotions, they don't die. They're going to find a way to resurface. They're going to spring back up in uglier ways. And so if avoidance perpetuates the poor ability to express our emotions, it perpetuates emotional dysregulation, then tolerance would help us to ride the wave of this emotional crisis without becoming overwhelmed by it. And one of the ways that we start to ride that wave of an emotional crisis is to develop distress tolerance skills. Distress tolerance skills are encapsulated in this therapeutic paradigm, particularly dialectical behavior therapy, developed by Dr. Marsha Linehan. And what Dr. Marsha Linehan said is that dialectical is really these two opposing forces coming together: acceptance and change. The ability to be able to face the pain, to accept that this is what is happening, but not placing any judgments or limits on it, just allowing it to be. But then once we're able to become comfortable with acceptance, we have to implement behaviors that change our situation. If we don't want to be, if we don't want our emotions controlling our lives, then yes, we have to accept that the emotions are changing or are running our lives, but then we have to do the work to change that so that we're now primarily in control. And so developing these distress tolerance skills, there are a number of skills in DBT, distress tolerance skills. But I'll go over one here just to give you an illustration. There's tip is the one that I'm going to go over, but there's improve, there's accepts, there's give, there is, self-soothing, there's creating this pros and cons list. There's all kinds of things that you can do to help your brain and body work together to start regulating those emotions. But one distress tolerance skill is called TIP. It's an acronym, and it means temperature, intense exercise, paced breathing, and this paired muscle relaxation. TIP is a skill that would be applied when a person is at an emotional breaking point. So let's to think about Will Smith here, in that incident a few days ago at the Oscars. This might have been useful for him because it's when you are highly enraged, highly angered, and you're at an emotional breaking point, and you need something to talk you off the ledge. TIP is that skill. And so basically, when we're angry and when we're highly triggered, we're highly raged to the point of we might hit somebody, or we might break something, or we might do something that we end up regretting. Our body, we can notice that our body is getting really hot. When we're angry, our body usually gets really hot. And so temperature alerts us to gauge, okay, I'm really hot. How can I cool myself down really quickly? So you can splash cold water on your face. You can hold an ice cube. You can blow cold air on your face with a fan or an air conditioning unit. You can do those things to help the body cool down. Because as the body physically cools down, when you can actually feel the body cooling down by holding that ice cube, your emotions start to cool down as well. The I, intense exercise. This can be like 100 jumping jacks if it's you can do that many, but the idea is to do it to exhaustion. So you're so exhausted you don't have time to be raged. You can do HIIT exercises. HIIT are these short interval, bursts of exercise that is alternated with brief periods of rest. So you can do that. Paced breathing. Paced breathing helps you to stop, regulate the body, breathe again, hold, until you're able to start experiencing some relaxation. So I'll demonstrate that for you because I kind of said that it was a bit confusing. But let's say, for instance, I have a technique called 4-4 breathing. So you breathe in for 4 seconds and you breathe out. 1, 2, 3, 4. 2, 3, 4. 2, 3, 4. You can do something called box breathing, which really gives it some structure. And it helps you to focus primarily on the breath. So you inhale for 4 seconds, 2, 3, 4. You hold, 2, 3, 4. You breathe out for 4 seconds, 2, 3, 4. And you hold for 4 seconds. And then you start over. And and you do that for a couple of times, you'll notice that your body starts to relax. And the last P and tip is paired muscle relaxation. So paired muscle relaxation is basically when you focus on just a muscle group in a particular part of the body. So let's take the arm, and let's just say that we're going to work the muscles. We're going to relax, we're going to tense, and then we're going to relax the muscles in just this arm only. And so we can start with our wrist. We can tense, we can bring the wrist in, tense 5 seconds really tight, and then we relax it. And then we move up to the forearm. We can just flex the muscle for 5 seconds, and then we relax. We can take our shoulder up to our ear for 5 seconds, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then we just relax it. And then we can keep doing that. And when our muscles relax, I'm already relaxed now, it requires less oxygen. And so that means that our heart rate and our breathing starts to slow down. And then we can go to the other side and we can do the same thing. 5 seconds, relax. Tense up the muscle, 2, 3, 4, 5, relax. Shoulder to the ear, relax. So that's just one skill that you can use as a distress tolerance skills to learn how to tolerate the body's reaction to external stimuli. All right, and the final step that I'll discuss today in terms of healing dysregulated emotions is to do the resolution work. So the resolution work can be done via coaching, it can be done via group process, group therapy, individual therapy. But the idea is to help you to develop or to recover really the resources that you lost through repeated relational trauma so that you can begin increasing your ability to create these personal and interpersonal abilities that lead to growth and holistic well-being. And so learning to take down these defenses that no longer serve you, to break your dependence on oppressive individuals and oppressive systems. So break your financial dependence, your relational dependence, your emotional, psychological dependence on these oppressive individual systems. To be able to accept your feelings, to remove subconscious blocks, to replace old relational models with updated relational models so that closeness and togetherness does not equal abuse. You don't have to go along with this toxic and dysfunctional relational cycle just because you want to be close to somebody, just because you want to have a sense of belonging. You can replace those old relational models with updated ones that say closeness equals boundaries. Closeness and belonging equals respect. It equals validation, right? And so that is what therapy or coaching or the resolution work can help you to do. And guys, if you want more information on my Fear Minimalist coaching process that helps you to do exactly that, be sure to click the link in the description below to get access to more information on the Fear Minimalist coaching process. So now you know how you can start healing dysregulated emotions related to the mother wound. And be sure to download my free feelings tracker and behavior tracker to help you get more practice with finding the language to express and describe your emotions in healthy ways. And also, if you want more information about the Fear Minimalist coaching program, be sure to click the link below in the description to get more information about that. If this content resonated with you, be sure to let me know by connecting with me on social media. I'm on Instagram at Fear Minimalist, on Twitter at Fear Minimalist, and on Facebook at Fear Minimalist. Connect with me so we can have a more in-depth conversation about healing complex trauma and the mother wound. All right, well, that's it. Thank you so much for being here today. I truly appreciate you taking the time to tune in. And if you like this video, hit the like button below, share with your friends, drop a comment to let me know what you took away from this video. And if you'd like for me to elaborate on some of the concepts that I discussed today in this video, let me know in the comments below. I'd be happy to oblige and to start a conversation around that. And guys, remember to subscribe. Hit the subscribe button, click the notification bell so that you'll never miss a video when I upload new content every single week. And always remember that the sun is going to rise and shine bright tomorrow. The question is, are you going to rise with it and allow your best self to shine? I hope you do, and I'll see you next time. Have a good day. Bye-bye.